Bob, I remember we used to go to your house and sit around literally at Chuck's feet, and he would just talk, and he would philosophize like the Mark Twain of animation, and he had so many interesting views of everything. Do you remember some of those conversations, some of the things that he talked about?
Chuck, had something, I think, to say about everything. The thing that was amazing to me, really, about Chuck was that he played such an important role in keeping animation alive. As some of you might remember, 30 years ago when we got in to animation, there was really some question about whether it was going to stick around. I think that there was a chance, or really a moment in time where it really felt like there wouldn't be any animation. And looking around today, it's hard to imagine that that was possible because animation has become just so pervasive. There's just so much of it. And Chuck at the time, I think, did a lot, not only with us, but with everybody that he met, to really instill in us a kind of an appreciation. And not just of animation, but of life, too.
Well, that's I remember at different times we would go visit the different studios, and people would kind of look at us and say, "Oh, so you want to get in the business, huh?" And it was us at Hanna-Barbera, and they were kind of discouraging. And even though the state of animation wasn't great, Chuck couldn't have been anything but encouraging. He wanted us to bring in our character designs from our freshman year, which I was horrified of doing because, again, I can't really draw. But he'd put them down and he'd go over them and say, "Oh, look at this thing you have going on here. That's pretty neat." When we actually had scenes to show, he said, "Bring your scene down," and he would draw over our scenes. I remember having a breakthrough there. It's like, oh, you can actually be that extreme between two drawings.
When Chuck used to come to Cal Arts, remember, for a producer's show, or he would just come in sometime, and you just couldn't believe he was coming. Then he would say to me, "Okay, Jeff, let's go take a look at your storyboard, and pitch me your student film, So we'd take him down to A113, and he'd sit there in the chair, and I'd be pitching my student film to him, and doing a gag session with Chuck Jones, and be like, "Holy cow!" It's like, what's up with this picture? You know what I mean? And lo and behold, years later, it just all comes around, and it was just an incredible time, I think.
To be sitting here right now, 30 years later, doing a panel discussion about this is a very surreal thing. I mean, just picture yourself being 20 years old and meeting this giant in the industry that you'd grown up with, and all these years later being able to talk about it here on this stage where we met him, basically. One of the things I remember about Chuck, in terms of philosophy, is I remember we were showing him our drawings, and somewhere in one of our sketchbooks, someone had drawn a page of just cartoony fish. And Chuck looked at that and he goes, "Okay, now, whose is this?" And so, I don't know whose it was. And he just said, "Well, this is pointless. You can't caricature a fish because you're just drawing another fish." And it was things like that where we were like, wow, he's right. Somewhere out there's a fish that looks like this. So, but that's the way he thought, and it made us think that way.
I think my favorite piece of Chuck Jones' advice was when you're dealing with comedy and you get something that makes you laugh on a board and everything, people try to analyze, what did I do right? And Chuck always said, humor is like a frog. You can dissect it, but it tends to die on you.